Jordan says it has foiled a plot by a former crown prince to destabilize the kingdom. The government maintains Hamzah bin Hussein and others were undermining security with the help of foreign powers. Now, as many as 20 high-level officials have been arrested. Hamzah denies being part of a conspiracy and says he is being silenced.
According to Jordan security officials, the king's half-brother, Hamzah bin Hussein, had been under investigation for some time. The country's foreign minister said the former crown prince was trying to mobilize tribal leaders against the government with support from abroad. The investigations monitored interference, including calls with foreign parties regarding the suitable timing to start steps to shake the security of our steady Jordan. 16 people, including a former advisor to King Abdullah and another member of the royal family, were arrested. The military initially denied arresting Hamzah bin Hussein and said it had issued him a warning for his actions. But in a video statement sent to media on Saturday, Prince Hamzah claimed he had been placed under house arrest for associating with critics of the royal family.
There is no conspiracy. I am not part of or aware of any conspiracy. All that has happened is that my movement has been restricted, that my ability to communicate has been restricted, that people have been arrested to try and distract from the fundamental flaws that have become so common in our system as a result of poor and incompetent governance.
Though he no longer holds an official title, Hamzah remains a popular figure in the country. In my view, it's just not right for Prince Hamzah to be linked to these people. These are people who Jordanians see as questionable, who are really frowned upon. We do not want to see anything, no matter how small, happen in this country. This country is known as stable and secure, and I ask God to have this country remain stable and secure. And many see stability in King Abdullah II. He has enjoyed widespread popularity during his reign. Jordan is widely seen as an island of calm in a troubled region, strategically located between Israel, Syria, Saudi Arabia and Iraq. The US, UK and several Arab nations have all expressed their full support for the reigning monarch.
And for more on this, I'm joined by DW reporter Aya Ibrahim, and she is following that story for us. Aya, the authorities have essentially accused Prince Hamzah of plotting a coup. It's very serious, this charge.
Good morning to you, Christine. Well, it's also extremely unusual for a feud of this kind to be happening in a country like Jordan. It's almost unheard of to see senior members of the royal family be at odds the way that we have in the past 2 days. But you are right that the accusations are extremely serious. We saw Deputy Prime Minister Ayman al-Safadi yesterday say that they have tracked calls and interface between the former crown prince and powers discussing the timing of action to destabilize the country, allegedly, according to the Deputy Prime Minister. They've also said that they've tracked calls between, again, a foreign agent, a foreign power, something very vague, and the former crown prince's wife, telling her that a plane can be available at the time of her choosing to take her out of the country. I mean, these are essentially accusations that are tantamount to treason, accusing a former crown prince of such serious accusations to destabilize the country. Absolutely serious and very unprecedented.
Aya, Prince Hamzah is said to have had foreign support in this alleged plot. Have authorities said anything about where that foreign support might be coming from?
They haven't. They've stayed very vague about what this foreign support could look like, what possible countries could be behind it. So, I mean, all we can do is guess and speculate. But I will say that this excuse of there are people in the country trying to destabilize it with the help of foreign power is a line that we hear, unfortunately, all over the Arab world. oftentimes to silence dissent, oftentimes to rally popular support behind the ruler of the country against any kind of dissent or anybody who falls out of lines. We don't know if that is, we have no concrete information as to whether that is indeed the case in Jordan, but it definitely is something that we've heard to sideline critique around the region.
Right. And we also know that there's been a long-standing feud between Prince Hamzah and King Abdullah. But could these developments be a signal of wider discontent in Jordanian society?
I think it's very reflective of the moment in Jordan, perhaps. I mean, Jordan is a country with very few resources, and the COVID-19 pandemic has hit this country quite hard, especially with some very harsh lockdowns, some of the harshest in the region, actually. And so, there is economic discontent, of course. The country is also, host to something like 1.3 million Syrian refugees. So it is reflective, perhaps, of the economic situation, but we have to wait and see if it's reflective of a bigger feud between the king and the former crown prince.
All right, that's Aya Ibrahim from the DW News team. Thank you, Aya.
And for more on this, we're joined now by Amar AlSabela in Oman. He's a political analyst and columnist. The Deputy Prime Minister is accusing Prince Hamzah of working with what he calls foreign parties to undermine the security of Jordan. What does he mean by that?
Well, actually, this is surprising. This is a very surprising statement by the foreign minister. And actually, we usually in Jordan, we don't have any, let's say, enemies or somebody or any foreign power that is interested in destabilizing the country. So basically, this was a bit surprising. And as long as the foreign minister talked about this, I guess there should be also concrete evidences for that. So basically, this might lead to a new, let's say, confrontation for Jordan with this new reality, although we in Jordan believe that there's nobody targeting the internal situation of Jordan. So the issue is being explained as well from the reaction of most of the countries to the issue happened yesterday, like the support, the endorsement of King Abdullah came from all over the world. So this means that in reality, we don't feel that there's anybody interested in this destabilization of Jordan. So I think the government is obliged soon to reveal these concrete evidences in order to be credible, and especially also for the internal audience and the Jordanian public opinion.
Yeah, I mean, when he talks about foreign parties, could be a number of countries, including Saudi Arabia, your neighbor, where Mohammed bin Salman has been engaged in a number of foreign adventures. Are people talking about that as a possibility?
Well, I don't think that there's an evidence for that. Simply, maybe the announcement of the arresting of Abdullah, who works with Mohammed bin Salman, might lead to this. But let's not forget that King Abdullah's last visit was to Mohammed bin Salman, and he went alone with the Crown Prince. And this might be linked also to what's happening here. Then immediately, the first country to endorse His Majesty's efforts was Saudi Arabia. This means that politically speaking or diplomatically speaking, there's no real proof that the Saudis might be interested in such issue. Otherwise, I think Abdullah wouldn't have been arrested in this way.
Well, could the problem be not a potential enemy, but a definite and confirmed friend? I'm thinking of the United States here, which recently announced an agreement which would allow the free entry of American troops onto the kingdom's territory. Could that be a factor somehow, some resentment about that?
Well, this is interesting, but to be honest, this kind of military cooperation and agreement has been all over the years. So there's nothing new in that might lead for a new event, let's say, or be a trigger for a new movement. I doubt that this is linked to any of these issues. I think it's more domestic issues. The issue of a crown prince, the presence of recently, like in the last 3 years, Prince Hamzah has been a bit active on social media, tweeting, criticizing the situation. Recently, he was very active visiting people, tribes, etc.
Yeah.
And this might, in a country which has one head and one crown prince, that might lead for a kind of opening a kind of competition, or bringing to the people's mind a kind of alternative. And this is, I guess, this is the whole issue, the issue of the stability of the regime itself, the crown and the crown prince, especially, and the king. So basically, I think it's mostly related to domestic issues and the way Prince Hamzah was behaving in recent days.
Well, just to talk about those domestic issues briefly and the relationship between the two royals, Prince Hamzah spoke of poor and incompetent governance in that video without naming the king. But could this be the remark of a bitter half-brother deprived of his status as crown prince? Or is there truth behind what he's saying?
Well, it's not new that he left his status as a crown prince. It's more than 15 years now that he's not a crown prince. So basically, I don't see a direct link between that, especially that after that he wrote a very famous letter saying that he has no desire or appetite for governance, and he would understand this. Then he appeared in recent years mostly engaging in domestic issues. So it's something unusual, surprising to see that these words, which is common in Jordan, by the way, recently in public opinion, there's very high criticism for the poor, let's say, governance of governments. But being said from a member of the royal family is a bit shocking or surprising. And for sure, it's risky because it opens, let's say, a kind of fraction, which is not the story in Jordan. The strength of Jordan is based on the strength and unity of this family.
Right.
We never witnessed that. So if I want to remember crown, in the previous era of King Hussein, it was very smooth transition, and therefore it's a bit surprising.
Okay, well, thank you so much for helping us try to understand this surprise. Political analyst Amar AlSabela in Amman.